Now, where are you from?
The Virgin Islands, St. Thomas to be exact.
And living in Atlanta now, or still living in the Virgin Islands?
Yeah, living in Atlanta for the most part, yeah.
When did you make that move? How old were you?
Shit, Atlanta, as far as Atlanta, I've been here about 7, 8 months, not even a year. You know what I mean? So I lived a couple places before I got here. And,
oh, okay.
You know, I lived in Jamaica before, New York, North Carolina. You know what I mean? So, you know, and before I got here, I was in New York, basically. I was in New York before I got here. And like I said, I just made that move here.
So give me the timeline. You're born in the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas. Then when you make your first move, give me the whole story up until Atlanta.
Well, all right, so the Virgin Islands, when I left the Virgin Islands, would probably be, I started to go to Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? In and out of Jamaica, like consistently. Say when I was I graduated from school. So I graduated, and then say about 19, I started going to Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? So I was between Jamaica and North Carolina for a second, just in between Jamaica and North Carolina. You know what I mean? And then I kind of stayed in Jamaica. I went to Jamaica for a funeral, really, just for a funeral. And in me going for the funeral, I kind of figured out some stuff. You know what I mean? To where I was like, damn, I can make some money here. You know what I mean? So I just kind of hopped on that opportunity, and I just kind of set base up down there. At a young age, I just was down there and kind of, dictating certain situations. You know what I'm saying? And then I would go to North Carolina for other reasons, because I had a cousin there as well. And then it kind of like led me to New York because my man that I was running with from St. Thomas. So I would say 19, I'm in between Jamaica and North Carolina. 19, 20, 21, I'm kind of in between there. And then like I started going to New York because of a certain situation where I could have got some money in New York with my good friend. You know what I mean? They had a situation, so I hopped on that situation. And in me hopping on that situation, I would say like I was in and out of New York consistently too, and probably going back to North Carolina as well. And then like I said, about 22, around the age of 22, I caught a case. But what it was before I caught that case, it was crazy because before I caught that case, I already had 2 other open cases for guns. And then one of them had got dismissed. It was 2 open cases in the Virgin Islands. One of them had got dismissed. But I was on bail for a second one. So I was just traveling. All this Jamaica, all this North Carolina, all this New York, I was on bail while I was fighting that case, and I was doing all that traveling, I was on bail. But in the Virgin Islands, you might get locked up for a case and then you bail out and you might be on bail for 4 years, 5 years, you know what I'm saying? But they don't tell you can't travel. You do what you want, you know what I'm saying? It's at your own risk. So, I started going to New York too, you know what I'm saying? I was getting certain things in New York, and then I got knocked in New York. I got knocked in I got knocked at 22 in New York. And I bail out. My bail was like $150,000 bail. I bail out. First they had me at no bail. Then they gave me a $500,000 bail. And my lawyer was like, yo, that's a ransom. Like, y'all can't give him no $500,000 bail for no drugs. So they dropped it down to 150, and then I came out or whatever. So I was on bail fighting that for a while, like just going back and forth to court. But I already was on bail in St. Thomas too. So I'm fighting 2 cases. You know what I mean? And then finally they was like, well, what you gonna do? Are you gonna take a 3 to 9 years? Or because they offered me 3 to 9 years, but I didn't understand a lot of this stuff because in between that 3 to 9 years, they was trying to get me to testify against some people. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't get paid for that. You know what I mean? Like, that ain't where I come from. Like, if I ever was to do that, I would never be looked at the same. All this, you know what I'm saying? Like, I stand on something. So, they was kind of like, all right, well, if you want to go to trial, we could go to trial. You know what I'm saying? And we went to trial. And like the way I was arrested, I got arrested with a whole bunch of drugs inside of the house, and then I got arrested for a package coming to the house. You know what I'm saying? And I blew trial for the package coming to the house and got found not guilty for all the drugs that I was inside the house with. You know what I'm saying? So like I said now, so I'm fighting, I'm in trial, I'm going back and forth to court, and then in the process of me going back and forth to court, I would say like coming to the ending of the trial, the judge just revoked my bail. Just out of nowhere, just revoked my bail. Just like, he taking me off the streets. So I'm like, yo, all right, what you taking me off the streets for? Like, I ain't never been late to court. I ain't nothing, what I'm saying, but he was already trying to paint a picture of me to the jury. So now when I come back in court, I'm coming in cuffs and I'm coming in the same clothes. So he kind of wanted to, I guess, paint a picture like, yo, he's guilty, because at one point he asked me, he was like, yo, you sure you don't want to take this plea bargain? And I was like, I'm positive. I don't want to take it. Like, I ain't did nothing, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I didn't take the plea bargain. So when it come time to read certain things to the jury, he was just like, just kind of misleading them, basically. And then him and my lawyer, they got in a little argument or whatever, and from there it was like all downhill for me. So, you know, when the judge came back, he was like, you know, actually he started reading it. He was telling them, like, you know, in court of law, if you hold in a box and you get arrested with that box in your hand and there's drugs in that box, they got to prove that you knowingly and unlawfully possess the box. You don't unlawfully possess the box if you're just holding it, but if you know what's inside the box, then you unlawfully possessed it. So he never explained that to them. So anyway, I got found not guilty for the drugs in the house and guilty for that package. So I never seen the streets after that. You know what I'm saying? After that, I never saw the streets again. I got 6 years in prison. Well, I got 15 years to life. They gave me 15 years to life. When they sentenced me, it was 15 years to life. And I was 23. When I got sentenced, I got sentenced about 2 weeks before my birthday. So I was 23, and I did 6 years after that. But in doing my 6 years, in doing the 15 years to life, you know, I don't know if you remember like the Rockefeller law and stuff, because that's what I was sentenced under. And you know, Jay-Z and Russell Simmons and everybody was fighting that law. So they had overturned the law, and then my sentence got commuted. So they had to bring me back to court. So first time, the law goes like first time felons, it's 15 years to life. And then after that, it goes to 15 years to life, 20 years to life, 20, you know, whatever. And then, you know, they had to bring me back to court because they gave me the mandatory minimum on that. They had to bring me back to court and give me 8 years flat, because that was the mandatory minimum, and that's what they gave me the first time. Was the mandatory minimum was 15 years to life. So I ended up with 8 years. Out of the 8 years, I already had like 4.5, close to 5 years in. So I just had to do like different programs, and then it ran me up to 6, and that's how I came home on the 6 years.
And then after you got out, how soon before you get to Atlanta?
Took me about, I would say, 5 years before I came to Atlanta. 5, something like that, close to that, because you know, I was on like work release and stuff for a while, you know what I'm saying? And then finally I got off of that, and then my whole case got overturned. So when my case got overturned, I end up with no felonies now, because now the case got dismissed completely. So that kind of gave me a little freedom to get out of New York. But if anybody know how New York is, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to actually just say like you can just get up and leave New York, because it's kind of addictive. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of learned how to survive in New York and live the New York way. It's just with what I wanted to do as far as music, I couldn't just leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I know at the same time it wasn't gonna be easy. And then, you know, me visiting Atlanta for a little while, and I just kind of got the vibe of how the people is in Atlanta. I was like, damn, they more receptive or more accepting. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like Southern hospitality, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to New York, it was just like kind of like, man, I ain't helping you. I'm trying to help myself. You know, not knocking New York, because I love New York, but I'm just saying that's just how it is. Yo, you're gonna have to get it on your own. So it took me about 5 years before I actually was like, yo, I'm done with New York. I gotta go. You know what I mean?
Now, what ended up happening with the Virgin Islands case?
In the space of me doing the time, I'm in my cell and I get a letter. Anybody know when you get a letter to your cell, most of the times it's a couple things, man. It might be a new charge, or it could be you going home too. You know what I'm saying? It could be some appeal shit like you going home. So what happened is they actually overturned the Virgin Islands case. They dismissed the Virgin Islands case, because I was locked up I had caught that case with like my cousin and a couple other people. And being that I couldn't make it to the case because I was in New York doing life, they was like, man, we're gonna just dismiss this case, because in order for the case to go forward, they needed me. And the Virgin Islands didn't want to pay the money to bring me back to the Virgin Islands just to fight a gun case when they had me doing life. They was looking at me like, yeah, that's good. We need him there. You know what I'm saying? So that's good. He ain't getting out of there. So they basically just sent me a letter and they dismissed the case. You know what I'm saying? So everybody, based on me being arrested, they had to dismiss the case on everybody.
Okay, so you spent most of your time in the Virgin Islands.
Yes.
Growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And you started going to Jamaica maybe in your late teens?
Yeah.
As I recall you saying?
Yes.
What was it like for you growing up in St. Thomas, in the Virgin Islands? Paint the picture for us.
I mean, it, like at a certain point, it was a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, our childhood was different. We grew up like, our fun might be a little different for you, but we grew up around the cruise ships and, you know what I mean? Like kind of like swimming like right next to the cruise ships and, you know, harassing the people that guard the cruise ships and different stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just kind of getting into trouble. We grew up in the projects, but we grew up like by the projects, but we grew up seeing the yachts pull up next to the projects because it's just like right there. You know what I'm saying? So for me, in my young days in the Virgin Islands, like before my teens, it was fun. After the teens hit, it started to change. You know what I'm saying? That's when like the drugs and everything kind of took over and kind of changed the island, and that's when you becoming a man and you start to change and certain things which you start to change because you starting to think about money and you starting to rub shoulders with your peers, and a lot of your peers probably ain't in school anymore, or they coming from, see, I came from I ain't came from a single parent home. Both my parents was married, they're married to this day, so, but a lot of my peers, they came from that. So it was kind of like they was a little more out there than me when it comes to certain things. You know what I'm saying? So I think once we start to reach a certain age, they was forced to actually be men before they wanted to be men because the fathers wasn't there in their household. You know what I mean? So I was in a space where these are my peers, these are my friends, we gonna do the same things. So shit just started to change drastically. You know what I mean?
Was it rough? Would you consider it rough growing up or no?
Well, I would say I can't consider it totally rough because it was more so family oriented. Like I could have go into my man's mom house and eat at any given time, or they could have came to my crib and ate, or whatever the case may be. So it wasn't rough in that aspect. But once you started to become a man and you started to want to do your own thing, then it became rough because we didn't chose the path of, you know, first of all, the Virgin Islands don't have that much opportunity. So you could be the greatest basketball player and it's not like a scout gonna come to your high school and pick you like how LeBron got picked or whatever. We don't have that. We gotta still go away to college and then, you know what I mean? And hopefully your parents have enough money to send you to college and, you know, all that stuff. Or hopefully you get a scholarship and God knows if that's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So I would say opportunity-wise, it was rough. Opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Because we didn't have no Puff Daddy. We didn't have no, what you call it, we didn't have no Tupac or whoever that could just ride by us and that's what we see. We didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? We only had like a Tim Duncan, and it's not like he was there on a regular basis. You know what I mean? And it's not like he was just, it's a separate, it's a bunch of different islands, and you know, it's not like he was embedded in the community at that point, you know?
What type of student were you in school?
Shit, boy. You know what's crazy? I graduated on the honor roll. And other than that, I was probably like a C's and the closest to B's. That's because I was just a knucklehead. But then my 12th grade year, I graduated on the honor roll with A's and B's only because on my 12th grade year, walking into school, remember the principal came to me, man, and she was like, come in my office. And I was like, for what? It's the first day of school. And she was like, no, come in my office. And when I got in her office, she told me, she said, listen, let me tell you something. I don't want you back in my school until I see your parents. I'm like, God damn, like today's the first day of school, what did I do? She was like, I don't want you back in my school until I see your parents. That's what I'm gonna tell you right now. So I had to go home and tell my mom, yo, the principal said she don't want back in school until she see y'all, one of y'all, any one of y'all. And they like, what you did on the first day? I'm like, I ain't did nothing. So, you know, they came to school with me and she told them, she said, listen, I'm putting him on probation. Last year, he gave me hell. This year, the first problem I get with him, I'm kicking him out of school. So that shit just made me like, and the one thing my parents always told me was, I'll just give me a diploma. Just give me a diploma. So I was like, all right, cool. If that's all y'all want, I'm gonna give it to y'all. So I just kind of straightened up and aced my classes and got out of school in no time, like flying colors.
Tried college?
Nah, I ain't tried college.
Why not?
I was already gone, man. Like, even though I was in school, I was already dabbling and dabbling in the streets. So college wasn't even like don't get me wrong, I wish I did, but college wasn't even a hint. I already had a case before I got out of school. I already was facing a gun case before I even left school. You know what I mean? So I didn't even think on college at that point, you know?
Was that gun case related to being in school, or was that something that happened outside of school?
Happened outside of school, but it happened on a school day. So, like, I left school. Sometimes I used to come to school with the gun on me, but I left school and I went to hang with my men, and them. They was already expelled from school, and we went to these other projects, and I went with the gun on me, and this kid from them projects was giving me a ride back to our projects, and he was smoking in the car. He got pulled over, and we had the guns on us. So I threw my gun or whatever, and they found everything. You know what I'm saying? It was more than one gun in the car, so they found everything.
Now, what's your advice to somebody in a similar situation, watching this interview, hearing your story? They've got one foot in the streets, they're about to get out of high school, and have to figure out the next part of their life. That kid that may want to continue to be in the streets, what do you tell that person? Should they, stop what they're doing and take the educational route?
I would tell them.
What do you tell them?
I would tell them take the educational route. You know what I'm saying? If that's the only way out, I mean, like, at the end of the day, man, it ain't all what it cracked up to be when it comes to this street shit. You know what I'm saying? It ain't. To me, I always tell people hustling is one of the hardest jobs. You got to watch out for the police. You got to watch out for the stick-up kids. You got to watch out for the informants. You got to watch out for the bitches trying to line you up. You know what I mean? You gotta damn near, you in your car, you gotta be switching cars. You gotta probably get the hoopty for just to look regular. You know what I mean? You gotta tone it down. Like, it's a lot more work than the average dude might think it is. So don't look from the outside looking in and be like, damn, I want to live like that because I don't got to get up and work for nobody. And I'm not saying, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you have to go to college and that's the only route you may be able to go. But I would say do not go to the streets. I would say if there's something that you're passionate about, and whether it may be music and you want to go to Full Sail or whatever the case may be, that works too. You know what I'm saying? Or you want to go make video games or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But I know for a fact, the streets ain't what it's cracked up to be. You know what I'm saying? Because right now in this day and age, the bitches is the niggas. And the niggas be the bitches. You know what I'm saying? For real. That's how this shit is right now. I see some niggas trying to get in a nigga lap for no reason. So, it's just different. So don't think what you looking at is what it is. You know what I mean?
What would you have done differently, if anything, looking back at your life at that moment? Getting out of school, one foot in the streets, one foot out.
I would have tried college. Me personally, I would have tried. I ain't no dummy, so I would have tried college. I was too far gone, but I would have tried college. It would have helped me in a lot of different ways. So I would have definitely tried college and just actually, I think I would have matured in a different way. You know what I'm saying? Even if I didn't finish, I would have at least experienced that. You know what I'm saying? And had an understanding of, okay, this is how this go. This is how that go. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like I kind of cut myself off at the legs when I didn't try it when I had an opportunity to. You know what I mean?
Now you do music now.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you tell somebody that is getting out of high school and wants to pursue music, whatever it may be in music? Do you tell that person, okay, follow your dreams and go right into music after high school? Or do you tell them, continue your education and do music at the same time? How does that work?
I mean, it depends on, because you could continue your education and do music at the same time. Like I said, you could do Full Sail, and that's not really not continuing your education. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to tell you, I mean, and at the end of the day, you could drop everything and just go full-fledged and suffer, but I'm telling you, do not try the street route to get to the music. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, suck, suffer, believe in your craft, and if you want to be an engineer, you do full set. If you just want to rap, I mean, you find you and your friends, you know what I mean? It might be hard, but that's where the passion comes from, the struggle, you know what I'm saying? So my whole thing is, the key thing is, don't try to do this street shit to pay for the music. If you don't have to get into that, don't do it. You know what I'm saying? There's Kanye's, there's J. Cole's, there's Drake's. It's different now. The internet, you could get noticed just by the internet, you know what I'm saying? And by your craft. So you have a much easier way of being noticed, you know what I'm saying? In this day and age. So just don't think that the streets, don't look at Jay-Z or Young Jeezy or whatever, Yo Gotti or whatever, and think you have to do it exactly how they did it, or me, or whoever, and think that you have to do it exactly how they do it, unless you already in there and you don't have a choice. You already in there, your feet planted, and this is what you gotta do. But if you coming out of school, you don't have to do that.
Jobs you had growing up, if any?
Shit, man, my mom had got me a job at the damn hospital where she was working at, a summer job, and my cousins, they had like a ferry, like that go between the British Virgin Islands and St. Thomas, and yeah, those were the two jobs, but none of them I had passed about 6 months, 7 months. Never had a job past that.
Quit those jobs? Got fired from those jobs?
I got fired from the one with my cousins. I got fired, and then the other one was just a summer job.
Fired for what?
Shit, they let me go because they said I had braids in my hair or some nonsense. I had braids, and they hired me with the braids, and then but it wasn't really. You know what it was, man? My man had got killed, and they knew that was my man, and they probably was hearing stuff like people gonna come to the job and try to do me in, and I used to come to work with my gun on me, and they probably didn't want that on the job, so they was like, we gotta find a way to get rid of him. So that's how they got rid of me. They told me, we cleaning up around here, and we can't keep you working here because you got braids, and they got rid of me.
Any crazy stories dealing with that job or those jobs you mentioned? Anything out of the norm or no?
Nah, nothing really. I mean, I learned though from those jobs because I like with boats and stuff. I could drive boats with my eyes closed. Like I know how to drive boats real good. So I learned when it comes to that part. I didn't really lose anything.
Now you mentioned both parents are in your life, still in your life.
Yes, sir.
Today, together. Mm-hmm. Are you the only child, or did you have any other siblings?
Nah, I got two others. Time answering too fast, but I got two other siblings. I got a sister and a brother. Older sister, older brother. I'm the youngest.
Anybody else in your family raps aside from yourself, or just you?
Nah, nobody else raps, just me. So I be getting the side eye. And I got the side eye for about how many years till they like, man, man, just go ahead and do what you do.
What does your family think about your rap career? Your parents?
They don't, but they old fashioned. They come from a whole different place. They don't. At this point, they probably believe it a little more than what they believed it before. But they old fashioned, bro. They look at it like, man, all they understand is get up and work for somebody and retire at 60 and get your pension, and that's what they understand. You know what I mean? They don't understand none of this, or you rapping and all that, bro. You tripping right now.
Not really supportive?
I want to say not really supportive. They want to see me win, but they don't understand it. So they don't understand it. They don't understand it. So if they could have understood, see now when they start to see me moving and start to see me doing shows and different stuff like that, then I think that's when they'll understand it. You know what I mean? A lot more than what they do now.
Have they ever seen you perform?
Nah, they never seen me perform, but that's one of my biggest dreams, to be honest with you, though. Just them being able to sit and watch me work.
In regards to your parents, what's the worst thing you put them through? Was it the 6 years in prison or something else?
Nah, that 6 years in prison, that jail thing, to me was the worst thing, you know what I mean? I mean, after a while, they became immune to the situation, but I feel like that, and probably my pops told me one time, he said, man, I won't, when I was growing up and, in the streets in St. Thomas, he wouldn't go to sleep unless I'm home. He couldn't sleep at all. You know what I mean? Just because of the way life was and because of, You know, my pops, he see me with my gun every day. He see I come in the house with my gun, I leave with my gun. So he was like, I guess he would just have to say a prayer every day, like, man, I hope my son make it home. You know, but my pops just told me some real shit. He said, man, listen, man, I'd rather see you try by 12 than carry by 6. You know what I'm saying? So you don't let nobody kill you, dog. I don't want to see that. I'd rather you in jail. And once he told me that, my ratchet game came crazier. It was a whole different ball game for me. I wasn't letting up, you know what I mean?
Overall speaking, what's your message to the youth at this point?
Man, you know, my whole thing is like, I always have this saying that, you know, feeling will never stop thee if determination to succeed is strong enough. And I feel like find something that you're passionate about. Not the streets. Find something that you're legally passionate about. Let me make that clear. And stick with it, regardless of who believe in it or who don't believe in it. And whoever stand by you or who don't stand by you, I think your motto should be, I want to be great at turning a no into a yes and non-believers into believers. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's like, just believe in you. And that will make everybody else believe. You know what I'm saying? Like, I met people that didn't believe in the beginning, and now they like, yo, when is that tape dropping? Or when is this dropping? Or when is that? You know what I'm saying? So, and it feel good. And I'm not mad at them because some people are not visionaries like me and us in this room right here. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, my whole thing is believe in yourself and, you know, just try to stay out of trouble and take the best, you know, observe what's going on around you. You know what I mean? Observe what's going on around you and just be humble about your moves. You know what I mean?